With patch 8, tons of people are jumping back into Baldurs Gate 3 for another playthrough with all the sweeping changes. And with those changes, we get new subclasses. In this video today, I want to show off my Death Monk build using both Death Cleric and Shadow Monk for a melee-centric Shadowheart that can play heavily into the darkness gameplay that's afforded with this build. I'm using this build for my Dark Urge Honor Mode run that I'm streaming on the channel, which you can follow along with. But in my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge of my build, let's go through the leveling split here. Now, I'm going to give you what the levels of the build are, but I want you to know it's suboptimal. All my patch 8 builds are assuming you're starting a brand new playthrough, so I want you to leverage the new stuff fast rather than say, level 10, which would have a different leveling path. So with that being said, we'll start with one level of Death Cleric to turn on all the abilities of Death Cleric immediately. Then go 6 levels of Shadow Monk, giving us the ability to teleport around from shadow to shadow, as well as extra attack. After that, we finish off with 5 more levels of Cleric to unlock Spirit Guardians, teleporting necrotic damage into the face of everything we encounter, and also shutting down people's resistance to our necrotic abilities as a Death Cleric. You can go a number of different ways in the beginning, but this works for the party I have in mind. But if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. As always, I want to be respectful of your time. You can jump to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And before you head out, if you find the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Also, take a look at my Twitch, linked in the comment and description, where I will be streaming my new Pure Evil run using this build and more that I will be uploading in due time. Let's get started on the patch 8 Death Monk Cleric Monk build for Baldurs Gate 3. Jumping into character creation, we can have some fun here. Now, I'm using this for my Shadowheart in my playthrough, but you can use this for your main character, whatever you'd like to do, so please choose accordingly. If you so wish, you can go into custom here and then choose whatever kind of race you want. There's not any one race that's going to particularly stand out. Remember, this is a single player narrative game, so have some fun with it. You are going to be melee centric, so half orcs are always standout picks with savage attacks and relentless endurance, making it so they do way more damage with critical strikes and so they don't get downed quite as easily. Big picks too, also things like the tieflings, which have bound cantrips, which are all quite good. You can play a drow because it's the best race in the game. I don't know why you'd want to pick anything else, but the Gith also gives you fun access to things like great swords and long swords that you can play around with, because remember, even though we're a monk, we are not going to be using our fists. And regardless, as a monk, any weapon you're specialized in is considered a monk weapon. So you can play around quite a bit with these racial specific weapon and armor proficiencies to try and pull more value out of the character and however way you want to approach it. So of course, we'll be starting off with our Cleric. No, I'll go Dragonborn. I haven't seen a Dragonborn in a long time. We'll go Cleric for our character here. And with that into our cantrips, well, let's do this first. We're going to choose Death Domain right there. And as Death Domain, that's obviously going to afford us this big subclass feature, Reaper. Your necromancy cantrips that only target one creature can target an additional creature. So from now on, we will be pretty much be targeting 2 targets with this. So it's a real great capability here. Now, here's kind of a cool trick you can do. You get 1 cantrip from the 3 death cantrips when you choose Death Domain. But as a cleric, you also choose 3 cantrips, and one of those is Bursting Sinew. So what we do here is, one of those is Bursting Sinew, the other one is Toll the Dead. So for our cantrip from Death Domain, we choose Bone Chill, and then from our cantrips from this section, we're going to choose Bursting Sinew and Toll the Dead. From there, you probably want to go with Guidance. That's the good, it's just good throughout the entirety of the game, and then eventually you'll pick up Blade Ward if you can. So you can see that's the kind of split we've got. If you already have characters in your party that cast Guidance, get Blade Ward instead. It's a nice one to use whenever you want to use it. Deity is going to be entirely up to you. Your background choice is of course going to be up to you as well. If you're choosing this for Shadowheart, we don't worry about it, but please choose a background choice that makes sense for the role play you have in mind for this character. This is how you're going to garner inspirations, which will give you chances to re-roll failed rolls. And far as a min-max pick, sorry, I was going to say as far as your spells go, but as min-max pick is always Guild Artisan for me because it gives me both Insight and Persuasion, both of which are really great throughout the entirety of the campaign. Insight helps you with plenty of stuff, and Persuasion is a conversational skill that you'll get free access to. For your prepared spells, just choose stuff that fits the party you're playing with. I'm always a big fan of Shield of Faith because we're going to be using that quite a bit in the early portions of the game. Guiding Bolt, I feel like it just never hits. Inflict Wounds is a bit of a trap. It has to be in melee range, which we will. So use this one if you're really comfortable with it. It can be kind of a bit of a letdown here and there. And also Bless is a real great one. Bane is a great one. Just keep in mind, Shield of Faith, Bane, and Bless are all concentration skills. So just know that. Also, if you're going out of the Nautiloid ship and you want to get the Everburn Blade, you'll want to have command on someone. If you don't know what that is your first time playing, then don't worry about it. You also have the Healing Word and Cure Wounds. Pretty much you can't go wrong here with the Cleric, and you can swap them out as well. So I will. So just choose whatever fits your overall party. Now for your skill proficiencies here, this is what it would look like if you were to go with Guild Artisan. So pretty much just choose anything. You can go medicine here if you want this character to be like a dedicated herbalist, but I would say you'd want to use that for any kind of random follower that you can get through withers. Religion and history are really fun though for thematics and trying to get a little bit more information out of certain things in conversations and certain things that you see throughout the game world, and it probably kind of fits the character the most. Well, now let's go through our ability scores. So with the abilities, we're focusing on wisdom, right? That's going to give us a lot of damage here because we're going to use that for all of our cleric spells, but also will help out with any kind of monk abilities. I am going to be focusing on armor in this build towards the, I'd say it's really in the end of Act 2 is when you're going to get all the armor for everything in the beginning of Act 3. So until then, use the armor you want. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we're going to jack our wisdom up here to 17. We want that, I want this to be 16, right? Just like that. This is just going to give us access to as much wisdom as we can get, as well as focusing on quite a bit of dexterity too. We want to have both of these in good measure. I want this. There we go. That's the number I want. I wanted to put this to 14 to then put the +2 into it to make it 16. And then the same thing here with dexterity, because that's going to be another big driving force with us. We're going to be using a finesse weapon. So it's going to be pulling from our dexterity, and we're still a monk. And we're a cleric, so we're going to get as much stuff as we can get from here. It's going to give us AC if we can get it. It's going to give us initiative. All sorts of great things are coming from that. Then we're going to put some points here into Constitution for some health and helping us with concentration checks, which we will be making in this build. Lastly, we've got 4 more points. Is this your face character, as in the character you're going to main with? Put them into Charisma. That's just going to help you out with everything. If it's not, the only reason I say to put it into strength here is to give you the ability to just treat, let's say you're using this for Shadowheart, then Shadowheart can just hold more stuff so she can mule things around for you. If you don't want to do that too, you can put 1 point here into Constitution and get Constitution Resilience. So choose that however you see fit, however you're approaching this. If it's your main character, put it into Charisma so you can help out with all those conversation roles. So right at level 2, we're going to go ahead and pivot away from Cleric into Monk. This is going to give us tons of stuff, mainly here Flurry of Blows, punch twice in quick succession, bonus action with the key point. This is, of course, a melee or an unarmed skill. It will use unarmed even if you're holding a melee, unless they change that here with patch 8. But we also get unarmored defense, so wisdom modifier to armor class. So at this point in the game, if you don't want to use armor, you're totally fine not to. But we do get also dexterous attacks, which uses our dex, deft strikes here. So our this is pretty much all for unarmed stuff. But this is the important one here. After making an attack with monk weapon or while unarmed, you can make it another unarmed attack as a bonus action. So you get all these fun little bits of flair. And this is pretty straightforward. We're just jumping levels here into monk to get us our special bonus actions. So Step of the Wind, Dash, Engage, and Patient Defense. This is nice here. So against attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and you have advantage on dexterity saving throws. So you can use this when you're in a kind of a bind, when you shadow jump into cool locations that you didn't think you'd be taking a lot of damage with. Also, you get to move further. I'm not showing you Shadowheart right now because my Shadowheart is in a specific spot in the campaign. And again, I don't know if you're coming back to patch 8 and you never beat the game, so I just don't want to spoil things for you. Pushing forward, Into level 3, we choose our subclass, which is Way of Shadow. This is going to give us Shadowheart's Hide as a bonus action. It gives us also Shadowheart's Pass Without Trace, which is cool to help us with stealth. We're not really going to be relying on stealth. We won't need to. But we also get a Shadowheart's Darkness, which is a free, not a free cast of it, but we get access to it through the build, through only the usage of key points. Now it is a concentration spell, so we kind of have to be careful about this, and I'll show you how we can skirt around it using other things. But dark vision as well as silence, and then our minor illusion cantrip we get just plain access to. In monk level 4, we get slow fall, but now we have a conversation about some feat. This might be the quickest feat selection I'm gonna do for any of my builds. Both of our feat choices are going to be ability improvement wisdom, because we want our wisdom to get up to 20. It helps us with what we're going to be doing damage wise and spell wise. It makes the most sense. You can do that. Just to quickly go over other things you can go with though, because I just want you guys to always feel like you have your own way to play this game. Lucky is always a really good one. Alert is an amazing one. You can really, Savage Attacker does work, but only use it when you're going to transition to using a melee weapon, because this only works when making melee weapon attacks. You roll your damage dice twice using the highest roll. So keep those things in mind. Shield Master is cool because we will be using Shield Masters. This helps gain +2 bonus to dex saving throws while wielding a shield and help divert a little bit of damage as well. Medium Armor Master is really cool. Use all these that you want, right? Like don't feel like you just have to go with what I'm going with. Mobile is amazing because you don't provoke opportunity attacks after making a melee attack, so you get in and out of combat very easily. Honestly, like I'm going the ability improvement into wisdom here because it's more of a min-maxy thing. But if I were to do this maybe purely off of what I would want to do flavor-wise, I would do ability improvement, wisdom, and then I would do mobile, because then I can be way more hit and run. So that's our breakdown of feats. Please choose what makes sense for you and your build and your party, but these are the ones I would focus on. So we just hit monk level 5. This is a total character level of level 6. You'll just be coming into Act 2 of the game, if not just the very end of Act 1. But you're going to notice quite a bit of a power spike when it comes to dealing with all the creatures, and you're going to compensate that with extra attack. You're going to be getting this one level later than normal if you had just gone, pure monk or pure any kind of combat character. So you will be feeling a little weak in between these two levels. Don't worry about that. That is just the way that this build scales. And you can, even if you're playing honor mode, which I'm assuming you are going with this build, you're going to still be fine because you have plenty of fallback things to do from range with all of your cantrips. So don't worry about it. But we're also going to get access to Stunning Strike, so we can stun things in melee. And the biggest one, well, not the biggest one, one of the biggest ones, is Cloak of Shadows. As a free action, wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. Cannot impress upon you enough if you are obscured, because that is going to be a big portion of our build, because once we press accept and go into level 6 of Monk, we get Key Powered and Strike, so now unarmed attacks, we don't have to worry about that, but Shadow Step. It's the only reason we're going to level 6 Monk, or else we would have stopped ages ago. Teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll, and it only requires a bonus action. It's got a range of 60 feet. This is the mobility that you've been looking for with this build. It's a really fun thing to do, and I'm going to show you in the gameplay section how we can really make it come alive. So we're going to accept that, and then we're going to go into our next level, which pivots us back into Cleric. And this scales off of your Cleric level. The equation here is 5 plus 2 times Cleric level. So at max, this will always deliver an extra 17 necrotic damage, which we can completely bypass once we finish out this build. I'm not going to go through all the spells here. You're a Cleric, so swap them in and out as you see fit, because there's really one spell that we want to focus on. So we're going into another level here. We're going to get up to level 3, and we're going to get access to more spells. I know I just said I'm not going to talk about spells, but Hold Person's really damn good. And we're going to go into another level. We just as virtue of being death, we get both blindness and Ray of Enfeeblement, which is worth pointing out. Into our next level here, we're going to get another cantrip. So you can now pick up Guidance or Blade Ward, whichever one you didn't pick up. And then that other feat. So we're going to choose ability improvement here just to show off more wisdom damage through this build. Again, this is where I would have chosen mobile or any of the other secondary feats that I talked about. Into level 5, we get access to this fun little ditty, Destroy Undead. When you successfully turn an undead creature, it also takes radiant damage. We also now get Vampiric Touch, which is awesome for some free health and necrotic damage. Animate Dead to summon up a little boner bro. I know what I said. And now the biggest spell of the whole entire build is Spirit Guardians. So Spirit Guardians is a two-pronged thing. Call forth spirits to protect you. Nearby enemies take 3 to 24 radiant or 3 to 24 necrotic damage per turn, and their movement speed is halved. Moving in and out of the range, it only does the damage once, but you can basically move around the battlefield and damage people a bunch of times. It's really fun. Here's the biggest portion of this. On save, targets still take half damage. So you're always going to at least do 1.5 to 12. I don't know if it rounds up or down. Necrotic damage. You can scale this up with a spell, another what's it called? Spell slot level, but unfortunately we're going to cap ourselves out on 3, which does kind of suck, but it's a concentration spell too. So keep that in mind. And having high wisdom helps us push this through and ensure that it does the damage we want it to do. One more level here into level 6 is another big reason we're taking this to 6 is this right here. Spells you cast ignore resistance to necrotic damage. So that's a huge thing here. It's not going to bypass all the melee damage we do, but Channel Divinity, I believe, counts as a spell for the damage it does. So even if you're doing, like, let's just say, I'm going to use the hypothetical numbers, 50 necrotic melee damage, Channel Divinity will still do its damage through it because of this, if they have resistance to it. So it's a really fun way we're going to really amp up damage with this build. Putting this all together, let's show some of the stuff off that we've got, because we've got tons of tools. We have all these spells down here. We have all of our cool bonus actions that we can do as a monk, including our hide capability, our shadow step, which I'm about to show off right here, the ability to go invisible, all sorts of fun things. And then we also have Spirit Guardians. So what we get to do here is a lot of fun stuff. The big thing is, you see all these shadows around us? Shadow step works like this. There's no resource to cast this too. I mean, you're literally just going to go from shadow to shadow. Well, let me redo this. There we go. As long as you are lightly obscured. That little guy will tell you because of what I've got on, but pretty much anything that is in any kind of shade is going to enable you to do this. And you have to have, I don't even think you actually need full on line of sight. You don't. So, oh okay, never mind, you do. And you don't need to go teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you can take advantage of your melee attacks, but you'll notice something. So I can go right there, but I can't go. Oh, you can actually. They changed this in the patch. You used to have to be going to a shadow, but you didn't need to be in one. So it was kind of weird. So you can see that this can really be used to a lot of fun capabilities, because every time we pop out, we now have advantage. So you can have a ton of fun here. And we have tons of things that we can really help out with this once I show off the gear. But we're going to be able to couple this in conjunction with Spirit Guardians for tons of damage. We'll show that off in the gameplay. As far as the gear goes, let's go through some of the items I don't have, including Shar's Spear of Evening. Now, in order to get this spear, you have to take Shadowheart down the evil route in Act 2. You can either go evil or good. I've done good in this playthrough, so I'm using her good spear, which is entirely different to this. But it's a +3 spear, which means also too we'll be using this as a focus for our main weapon that we'll be using, and spears we have proficiency in, so we don't need to worry about that. But it gives us a free cast, well, not a free cast, it gives us darkness, it gives us an advantage on saving throws while lightly or heavily obscured. This is going to be a big portion of this build. I'm going to zoom in on that for you guys that are watching on mobile. This is going to be a big portion of this build. Lightly or heavily obscured is a big thing that we're going to focus on. Also, this weapon deals an additional 1d6 damage to creatures that are lightly or heavily obscured. So we're going to have advantage on saving throws, and we're going to do 1d6 damage, and we're going to have advantage on attacks because we're going to have used our shadow step to get into lightly or heavily obscured. Also, the wearer cannot be blinded, so you can run into darkness without any issue. And you get these two cool weapon actions, but you get your special weapon action, which is a recharge on short rest primary action that creates a cloud of darkness while you attack. So we click this one here. So it creates darkness for you. It's replenishable on a short rest, so there is that, and it's in a 10-foot radius, so it's not as big as an actual darkness, but it's worth noting that it's free. It is literally free darkness, you know? Well, aside from actually having to use the action of it all. But that's a big one here. A Shroud of Magical Darkness that heavily obscures and blinds creatures within. Creatures cannot make range attacks in or out of the darkness. So it's a real great way to turn darkness on for the character without having to cast a spell and waste concentration. Which brings us back to our gear. So the other items that I just do not have on my character because I did not take this route with the build is the highest upgraded version of the Dark Justiciar half plate. You'll get 3 versions of this, green, blue, and then purple. This one here, while obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks. We don't really care about that, but we do care about the advantage on Constitution saving throws because those are going to be our concentration checks. Sharp's protection, while the wearer has Shield of Faith active, reduce all incoming damage by 2 and reflect damage received back at the attacker who takes 1d4 necrotic. Now you will probably not use Shield of Faith, but you can as not a get out of jail free card, but a way to really amp up your armor class and mitigate damage in situations where you're like, man, I'm really getting a beating. I need to turn off my Spirit Guardians and opt for more damage. Opt for more AC, because right now you can see we have 22 AC in this build if I were to use all these items. Another big one is Dark Justiciar's Gauntlets. Now there's 2 versions, the green one and then eventually the rare one. Both of them have Umbral Attack, which is what's important here. Your weapon attacks deal an additional 1d4 necrotic damage. We just want free necrotic damage. Also, Beckoning Darkness, bonus action, cast a level 4 spell at will. It's a really cool version here. I'm actually gonna, what a great way to do this. The Beckoning Darkness is a special thing here. Beckoning Darkness is level 4 necromancy spell. This is curse that takes creature to take necrotic damage if it enters or starts. It's basically another version of Spirit Guardians. So you use a bonus action, they need to do a charisma save this time, and they take 2d8 per turn of 2d8 necrotic damage of being in it. It's super cool. And again, lightly and heavily obscured. So you just have ways to layer on so much necrotic damage with this build, and it's really around the Dark Justiciar armor, which is really cool and thematic. The Dark Justiciar's boots are cool. They're not overly worthwhile. I put them there thematically. Teleport to an unoccupied obscured spot, but you can use this to turn it on to basically give you Shadow Step ahead of time if you get these. So don't feel compelled to do it. I just wanted to show them off thematically. And also the Dark Justiciar's helmet, which we'll show off in just a little bit. So I just have that whole entire set. The one ring I don't have, I can't show off, is the Ring of Arcane Synergy. When you deal damage with a cantrip, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns, helping you whenever you're going to do any kind of fun weapon play with this build. So you can use this one because you have access to all these necrotic and necromancy cantrips that you can hit with 2 targets. So lots of fun things there. Now let's show off some weapons and some other gear. So again, I'm right now using the good version of the spear. It's not going to help me for this build, but your character might look something like this. And you can really use whatever weapon you want leading up to getting that spear. You can just use your fists if you want, but if you want to get some good ones that are very early in the campaign, because you'll get it about the midpoint of, yeah, it's not the full end of Act 2, but it's right about at the end, right? So it's like the 3/4 point of Act 2 that you'll get that spear. Oh wait, no, you won't, because you get this. Never mind. I don't want to spoil something. You'll get it early in the game. But Falar Aluve you'll get in the very beginning of the game once you go into the Underdark. It's a real amazing finesse weapon that you can use the entirety of your playthrough if you have access to long swords. It's a really good one. But what you're going to have guaranteed access to is short swords. Sword of Lifestealing is really good because on a critical hit, the target takes an extra 10 necrotic damage as long as it isn't a construct or undead. And you also gain 10 temp hit points. You can use this for the entirety of the game if you want on this build. It's a really, really good weapon, and you get it so early in the game too that using it is quite the reward. As far as shields go, getting access to the Adamantine Shield at the end of Act 1 is really good. The Shield of Devotion is nice because you gain a free level 1 spell slot. It gives you Aid, which is cool, and then Shield Bash. But you probably want to focus on getting Viconia's Walking Fortress, depending on how you end the game. This one's going to be hard to actually get. I don't know if you can really pull it off, but when a foe hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction, dealing 2 to 8 force damage and knock it prone. Also, you get an advantage on saving throws against spells. Spell attack rolls against you have disadvantage. You get a cool reflective action here. A protective shell that envelops you to reflects any projectile back, and then warding bond. So you use all these things in conjunction to kind of really amp up some fun damage and some fun gameplay. You can take a very specific route to get that in Act 3, only Act 3. It also is the shield with the highest AC in the game at +3. So we have plus 21. We don't have plus 21. We have 21 AC without even using Shield of Faith, which is really cool. So those are your weapons and armor shields. Just kind of use whatever makes sense, or just use your fists until you get the spear, which is what kind of makes this build cool and unique. You can entirely pivot the gameplay right at the point that you decide to switch back to being more of a cleric. So have fun with it and be a monk up until the halfway point and go, yeah, I'm time to switch and play a different way. It's kind of a cool, rewarding way to go about this. Now, as far as our gear goes, there are tons of ways you can really augment the play style we're looking at, which is being obscured in some way, shape, or form. And I'm only showing you a handful of those items. There's even more of them. But we did talk about this in the previous section where we're looking at itemization. So here's the Dark Justiciar's helmet. It will give you the ability that wielder has +1 bonus to saving throws against spells, but while obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1, and Constitution saving throws, remember that's your concentration checks, is a +1. It's probably the best build, or I'm sorry, one of the best helmets for this build. I just am not too crazy on the look. It just doesn't really, it's kind of funky. But you can turn off the helmet, right? So it's up to you. But an early helmet you get in Act 1 that is really good for this is while obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. You get this right out the gate, and well, semi out the gate, and it looks really cool. It looks super thematic. So I'm rolling with that for this build right now. Other good ones here, though, are, of course, the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. Whenever you deal damage with a weapon attack, which we will be doing, you gain Arcane Acuity. Remember, your fists are not a weapon attack. So once you get access to using that spear, or you decide to start using a weapon, this is when that's going to help you. And Arcane Acuity helps you out by giving you a +1 to spell attack rolls and difficulty class for each remaining turn. Another very early one, you'll get this in Act 2. This one also get in Act 2, the Fistbreaker Helm. You gain +1 bonus to spell DV. This is not the helmet I thought it was. Sorry. Never mind. I was thinking of the Horn of the Berserker. Hood of the Weave, if you just want to help with your spell save DC, also looks kind of cool and thematic in some way, shape, or form. But even in Act 2, Flawed Helldusk Helmet, so +2 saving throws, +2 bonus to saving throws and Constitution saving throws. The Helm of Balderon, if you want to go with just some basic healing here and things can't crit you. Even Saravok's helmet is really good here because you gain dark vision up to 10 or 50 feet if you already have it. The number you need to roll is is reduced by 1 for critical hits. You can't be frightened, and Constitution saving checks. So this one's really great as well. So you have so many different ways to approach your helmet slot. Choose whatever's going to make sense for you. I'm using the blue version of the Dark Justiciar half plate. The biggest thing on this is the advantage on Constitution saving throws. You also get Shar's Aegis, which is what I talked about here. It's basically a quote unquote free cast. When I say free, it's not using a spell slot of Shield of Faith. There's also the green version of it. While obscured by shadow, the wearer deals 1 to 4 necrotic damage to attackers that hit them with a melee attack. You'll get both of these in, Dark Justiciar Mail, then it goes to half plate. You'll get these in Act 1 and then in Act 2, fully the whole set in Act 2. Another one that you get in Act 1, though, is Spider Silk Armor, depending on how you're approaching the game, but this gives you advantage on Constitution saving throws. Really good. You could even just use the Armor of Agility if you want to really amp up the amount of AC you get from your dexterity, right? So we have 21 dexterity, put this on, it goes up to 24 AC, right? I said 21 dexterity, I meant 21 AC, because Armor of Agility allows us to get the full dexterity modifier into our armor. It's really cool. You can even use Viconia's Priestess Robe, which is nice if you're a monk, right? Since we put this on, we get 18 AC because it's going to drop our total AC, but look at my chiseled cleavage, bro. We do get AC from being a monk, but you would then you'd have to basically pull off any armor here to get this to go up. This light armor, thought so. So yeah, then that jumps you up to 20. So just kind of know those things, right? If you want to leverage the monk wisdom bonus, you need to pull off any and all armor. I just wanted to bring it up because it does, while obscured, the wearer has advantage on stealth checks. Shield of Faith also grants you +2 bonus to all saving throws. So it's just a really nice defensive piece if you want to go around, if you want to do things on that route. Through our gloves, pretty much whatever is going to help you out in wherever stage you're at. So in the very beginning of the game, if you want to be more of a monk, braces of defense are good, +2 bonus to your AC as long as you're not wearing armor or shields. But maybe you want to progress into something like this in Act 2, Flawed Helldusk, unarmed attacks deal an additional 1 to 4 necrotic. Weapon attacks do 1 to 4 fire. But even their big brother counterpart, the grown-up one, is 1 to 6 unarmed, 1 to 6 armed of necrotic or fire damage respectively, and this just helps you out with spell casting at +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DC. 2 that I really recommend though, outside of the Dark Justiciar gauntlets that do the 1d4 necrotic damage, I think those are the best in slot ones, but these just do a flat +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls with weapons. So your weapon just does 2 more damage, and it's that much easier to hit with Legacy of Masters. And the gloves of Battle Mage's power have been fixed in patch 8, so when you hit a target with a spell or a cantrip that uses a weapon, you gain Arcane Acuity. So you can really amp this up with that ring we talked about, which gives you Arcane Synergy. So you're going to have Arcane Acuity and Synergy triggering from both of these in tandem, which is really, really nice. I like that for the build quite a bit. Into our back slot, I'm using Cloak of Displacement because it basically does free blur whenever you jump into combat. Really, I mean, you can use like the Shade Slayer cloak, but you have to be hiding to get that crit. I don't want to hide in this build. I want to be more mobile. So if you want, you can go this route. It reduces your crit even more to make for better crits. Cloak of Protection is just a good +1/+1. Cloak of the Weave is helpful for getting a +1 spell save DC and spell attack roll. Also helps with mitigating damage from spells. So you can go that route if you wish. I think Displacement's a good one. No real cloak stood out for me in this build. Other things though are our jewelry slot and our range slot. Range slot, I've gone with Dark Fire Shortbow, resistance to fire and cold damage, as well as a free cast of haste. And then lastly, our jewelry slots. Really, this has got Khaled's Gift to give us +1 wisdom. You can go with that for sure. The necklace that is really going to be the one you want to use is the Amulet of the Devout. And you might not have noticed it here a second ago. I had to cut and add it into the inventory because I forgot it, because I'm a fool of a took. But you gain +2 bonus to spell save DC here, and you gain an additional use of Channel Divinity. Why that is important here is that Channel Divinity is what allows us to use our, it doesn't show it here because this is not, it's a reactive Touch of Death. So this gives us an extra usage of it. And you can see that does 7 to 29 damage, which is quite a lot to be able to just to turn on with the press of a button. So that's the big one that you want to use for this build. Outside of that though, you have Moondrop Pendant for an early Act 1. So you can move when and without incurring opportunity attacks below 50% health, which is very common for Act 1. You Amulet of the Harpers for wisdom saving throws and a shield. Spellcrux Amulet to give you spell slot restoration. Just remember, with patch 8, they've patched this. You cannot get the spell slot and take the amulet off. You have to keep the spell. You have to keep the amulet on, or else you lose the spell slot. You lose the restored spell slot. So until you cast again, basically. Amulet of Misty Step is exactly what it is. Just gives you free cast of Misty Step. I did forget about the boots portion. So aside from the Dark Justiciar boots, the Boots of Persistence are amazing for freedom of movement and Longstrider. Also, the Blackguard or Blackguard Greaves gives you Longstrider for free as well. You've got the Boots of Speed. You've got the Disintegrating Night Stalker. All are great. Another really good one though is Boots of Striding. So whenever you cast a spell that requires concentration, you gain momentum and you cannot be knocked prone. So those are 2 really good things. You get the Boots of Striding early, I believe in Act 2 as well, and they look pretty sick for the build. So it's a really good option if you're not going to go see something like the Boots of Persistence. So that's something that probably has been taken up by a heavy armor wielder. Now for our rings, we talked about that Ring of Arcane Synergy, but some other cool ones here are Coruscation Ring if you want some Radiating Orb. That's shapeshifting. Cool. And that's healing. Crusher Ring for 10-foot movement. The Ring of Free Action here is to ignore the effect of difficult terrain and cannot be paralyzed or restrained. Ring of Regeneration, the Killer Sweetheart. Unfortunately, we can't use stuff like the necklace or the Ring of Elemental Augmentation because they do not trigger off of necrotic damage or poison damage for that matter. But every other element they do, which is, that sucks. But these are just some standout ones that you can go with. Pretty much getting that Arcane Synergy ring is the big one. Then use whatever you want outside of that. It's just going to be really dealer's choice. But that's our gear. Let's jump into some gameplay. Jumping into combat, let's have some fun. So, is this gonna mess me up? No? Okay, I guess not. So I've cast Spirit Guardians before we jumped into combat, and that should be a big thing that you try to do, is have it either in right before combat if you know you're going to get into it, or that's your first action. Also, just keep in mind, I did use a potion of haste. It's going to increase our armor class a little bit, but I'm doing it so we have more actions right now. And I've chosen this location too, because this is where I do all my videos, but also because everything's obscured over here. So we get to have a little bit of fun. What we get to do now is play around, have some fun, do some cool things. I can cast spells if I so wish, but the real big thing is using what kind of melee capabilities I've got. Because remember, starting strike does say unarmed, but it also can be melee if I want. We have lots of ways that we can do things. This only says 8 to 13 right now, so we'll be able to just kind of see what we can get away with in our in this build. So we'll shadow step right here, and that immediately does Spirit Guardian damage, right? And we have advantage, so we can go ahead and hit, and Touch of Death, and that amps up our damage right there. And we have all the benefits of extra attack, right? So we can go ahead and do it again. And that killed the shit out of that guy. So if we look what we did here, we jumped in, we did necrotic damage. And more necrotic damage. We did 11 piercing damage plus a 17 damage. Then we did hit him again with more, with another 14 damage. Now, we can only use that this action, Touch of Death, once per turn because it's a reaction. So next turn I can go ahead and do this again. So we have a lot of fun things that we get to do, right? And then I can also, you know what, just to show off, let's go ahead and use Toll the Dead. And I'd say we could jump around again with Shadow Step, but we don't have extra bonus actions. I've thought of a build using Thief that takes advantage of it, and that would be my build for my Ninja Assassin, which you can find on the channel. But just to show Toll the Dead, because it's one of the new ones, we'll put that onto them, and those go down. They can't resist it, 16 to 19 damage. We could even, I mean, this is going to provoke an opportunity attack. It's okay, but just to show you what Spirit Guardians can do if you don't know about it. Did I lose? Okay, successful, cool. That afflicts them with Spirit Guardians. And obviously, I can't move back and do it again. It doesn't re-afflict them with Spirit Guardians. It's when they take their turn, or once the next turn happens, it'll do more Spirit Guardians damage. So we don't do a whole ton of damage right out the gate with all of our weapon. We amp up damage with our necrotic capabilities through Spirit Guardian, through our Channel Divinity. And remember too, we didn't even take advantage of all of the additional damage that we get from necrotic from, say, our gloves and other things that I just don't have in this build. If I too were to put things into darkness, it would then prevent them from doing things back to me because of the nature of that spear whenever it hits things, or whenever it uses its special action. And also too, we have covert, so we could do +1 to that critical. Now we have a ton of arcane acuity active here, arcane synergy if I had that ring. So you can see that this build has a lot. I mean, look at the huge bar of stuff going on right now. So we can really play around with a lot of really cool, fun tools. It's not a build that's going to take a ton of damage, but it's a build that's going to be super mobile, be able to pop in, do cool damage, and then revert to do another bit of damage somewhere else, or do whatever. I could have also, in that instance, I could have used Inflict Wounds, which, as you see, this is an important part, ignores resistance. That's from our passive ability as a level 6 Death Cleric. So rather than wasting the action on a melee strike, I could have done Inflict Wounds. So you can see tons of fun ways to do cool things with this build, stunning things and what have you. But if you have any other way that you would approach this build, maybe doing a different splash somewhere else, hey, you know what? I like the idea here, but I would have gone maybe a level into fighter or something. Go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. I think this build is pretty cramped up because both the things I wanted to use for this build are at level 6 of their respective classes, but I'm definitely open to different ways to approach this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.